Okay, hello, Hannah.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good, good. How are you?
Thank you for accepting our invitation. Today we have an interview with you.
Great.
We want to know about you, a little bit information about yourself.
Awesome.
We have some questions. I prepared some questions for you.
Okay.
If you don't mind, we can start.
Awesome. Let's go.
Okay. The first question, I think, interesting question. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Okay. So I am American, as I'm sure you guys can tell from my accent, right?
Sure.
I'm American. I'm originally from Virginia, right next to Washington, D.C., so that's kind of my hometown. I came here a few years ago through the Fulbright program, which is an educational exchange program sponsored by the U.S. Embassy. A lot of people know Fulbright because it's a good opportunity for students or teachers from Uzbekistan to go to the US for either study or professional development. But there's also another branch that takes teachers from the US and sends them here to Uzbekistan. So I came here a few years ago through that program, and I just really fell in love with Uzbekistan, and I decided to stay here. So, yeah.
Cool. The second question. You mentioned about that, but anyway, can you just a little bit clarify? What do you do for a living? Just teaching, or maybe you have another job, maybe?
Yeah, good question. So I am a full-time educator, right? So that means that I teach people and I help people with their educational journey as well. Currently I'm employed at Webster University. So I teach in the master's program for education and innovation at Webster University. It's a really great, university. Check it out. But in addition to that, sometimes I'll run maybe some private courses here or there, for example, for career development. So teaching students how to find and apply for international jobs, or university application writing, teaching students how to, find a good university, how to find good scholarships, and how to write applications in a way that makes yourself marketable. Because when I came to Uzbekistan, what I realized is there's a lot of really smart and talented people here who I know would be very successful if they were given these international opportunities. But I also realized that the way the education system is here, it doesn't teach you how to write these applications, right? And so, for example, if you have a student who is brilliant and very talented, but they don't know how to write a university application essay, they're not going to get accepted to an international university, right? Same thing for international jobs. You could be the best programmer that there is. You could have a very high IELTS score. But if you don't know how to write a resume or how to act in a job interview, nobody's going to hire you. Sure. So I really wanted to help fill that gap and help people learn how to market themselves in a way that appeals internationally.
Cool. That's cool. The next question is, as I know you teach a course at Opus Learning Center, I heard about that. Could you tell me more about that? I think you mentioned, yes?
Yeah. So right now here at Opus, we're running the career development course, which is one of my favorite courses. I'm really proud of it. So the career development course is specifically designed for people who are interested in some kind of international job opportunities, or maybe they're also interested in online work. Nowadays with the internet, things have just become very open, very democratized. It's very easy for someone to get a job working online for these international companies where you're able to make a high salary but still live where you choose to live, right? However, again, you need to know how to apply for these jobs, and you also need to know how to find them. So in the career development program, what we're doing is we're first helping people self-reflect and think about, okay, what are the skills that I bring to the table? What would I be good at doing? And what jobs can I find that would connect me and my skills to my passion and to my dream? And then once we sort of do that self-reflection, then we'll find what are some specific jobs that I could apply for. We'll actually go through some different websites for finding jobs. We'll go through how to write a resume, how to write a cover letter, how to act in a job interview. And then by the end, you'll have a full portfolio of documents that you would need to actually start applying to real jobs.
Cool. That's cool, I'm impressed. My question is another question. in your opinion, what are the main difference between the education system of the US and Uzbekistan?
Yeah. So I think, I've been here for a couple years now, so I've observed several differences, but I think one of the main differences is that I think the Uzbek education system prioritizes getting the correct answer, whereas the American education system prioritizes going through the correct process. And just let me give you a quick example of that. So my father in the US, he's an engineering teacher, right? So he's a teacher at a university, and for his final project, after the students have learned all of these engineering concepts and terms and all of these different things, their final is not an exam. Instead, he tells them, I want you to walk around for 24 hours without using your left hand. And I want you to think about all of the problems that you encounter. And then after doing that, I want you to design some tool or some product that helps people with disabilities interact with the world. And so for him, his students, their final project is about going through the process in order to understand how engineers see the world and how they actually create some new product, right? Whereas I think here in Uzbekistan, it's much more test-oriented, So it's more prioritized that you take an exam and that you give the correct answers. And you could test engineering with an exam, right? You could say, okay, what is this term? What is this term? How would you do this, right? You could do it via an exam. But I think in America, we've switched much more to a project-based model. And at Webster University, which is also an American university, I do the same thing for my students. Their final is not an exam. Instead, their final is always some sort of product that they have to do, and they have to demonstrate to me the process that they went through to get there.
Yeah, this means that using your knowledge, skills in real life, making some projects and helping to society, you mean?
Exactly. I think the American education system puts more emphasis on application of knowledge, whereas the Uzbek education system puts more emphasis on the obtaining of knowledge, if that makes sense.
Theoretically.
Yeah.
Great. That's cool. Other question about what the easiest and quickest way of learning English. Actually, I know that there is not any kind of quick way to learn English, but anyway, maybe you know some tips.
Yeah, of course. I think we would all love it if you could wave a magic wand and then all of a sudden speak English, right? Sorry. But there are some things that you can do that I think makes it a little bit easier and a little bit quicker. So first off, my advice is find something that you're interested in and then do it in English. Sometimes people will ask, what is the best book that I can read? Or what is the best thing that I can listen to so that I can improve my English? And my answer is always the one that you're actually gonna read, right? So let's say, for example, if you are really interested in science fiction books and I recommend you, this is the English textbook that's the best textbook, or I say you should read the dictionary. It's boring, you're not gonna do it, right?
You shouldn't, yes.
Yeah, but if you're really interested in science fiction books, there's so many awesome science fiction books that are in English, right? So in that case, yeah, you're practicing your language skills, but you're also interested in the book itself. And it's the same thing for other things. Nowadays, the internet is so vast and so much of it is in English as well. Sure. You can find anything that you're interested in English. You can find YouTube channels devoted to whatever topic you're interested in, right? Like you could find YouTube channels devoted to knitting, right? Or YouTube channels devoted to crypto. And it's in English, right? So find something that you're interested in and then find English language materials for that. And I think that serves two purposes. First off, it gives you the opportunity to learn English that's interesting and useful to you, right? Because let's say, for example, if you're really interested in business, there's going to be a lot of specific business English terms that you're not going to get in a standard IELTS class. Yeah, you're only going to get them through those business materials. And also, because so much information is published in English first, and then translate it into, say, Russian or Uzbek or other things,
Yeah.
it also means that you're getting more up-to-date information as well. So find something that you're interested in and then find that in English. That's my advice.
When you translate some books into Russian, into other languages, I think
Yeah.
meaning all the time changes.
Yeah, there's
Yes?
always going to be subtle differences that you
And
kind of lose a little bit.
Maybe you can misunderstand something.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's kind of really important to
Yeah.
learn English.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Okay, and I want to know about the how important to know English for you. I mean,
Yeah.
not for you, but what do you
in
think about
general.
that? I mean, it's really important to know
Yeah.
English, or
I mean, I think ultimately it's always going to depend on your goals. So, as a teacher, yeah, of course, like I'm an English teacher, but my goal as a teacher is not to get you to do what I want. My goal as a teacher is to give you the tools to do what you want, right? And so, for example, if you say that you want some sort of international career, or maybe you want maybe like a computer programming job or something like that where you're able to work online and work with people internationally, then yeah, English is an important skill that you need to learn, right? But there are, plenty of people who say, well, maybe I'm interested in something else. And in that case, maybe English isn't strictly necessary for your job, but it could still probably help you, right? So ultimately, it's going to depend on your goals. But I think it's important to understand that, English is it's not necessarily a goal in and of itself, right? English is a tool that you can use to accomplish your goals.
just a tool?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Thank you. Okay. The question is, what do you enjoy most about being a teacher?
Yeah. So what do I enjoy the most about being a teacher? I really enjoy seeing my students grow and develop. And I enjoy seeing all of the different things that they could become, right? We have this kind of idea sometimes that students, or just anybody, like students are like a garden, So you have all of these seeds that are planted, but you don't know exactly what the flower is going to look like, right? As a teacher, you're responsible for making sure that the soil is tended to, making sure that it gets enough water, making sure it gets enough sunlight, but you can't control how many petals a flower is going to have. You can't control what color a flower is going to be, right? So one of the things that I love about teaching is that I get to see, as my students are sort of growing and developing, I get to see all of the different things that they become, right? So it's really awesome, for example, if I see, I have a student who's really interested in environmental science. Oh, cool. Maybe you're really into green initiatives or green economics, right? Or if I have a student who's really interested in, some sort of technology, IT. I don't know anything about IT, right? But it's interesting to see how they use their knowledge in different and diverse ways.
This means that you are interested in results.
Yeah. Well, I'm interested in
results.
helping my students achieve their own results. Yeah,
that's cool. And in addition, one thing, I think only teachers can be happy when they see that students who are becoming better than them.
Yeah, exactly.
And only teacher can be happy at that time. I think so. It's my opinion.
No, you're totally right. I think like the goal of a teacher is that we want you to surpass us. In whatever the capacity that might be, right? So, I mean, maybe I'm better at English, but you might be better at a lot of other things, right? And it's really interesting for me to see when my students become, really good at different diverse things.
The next question is about IELTS. I think it's the most interesting kind of question in Uzbekistan. What do you think about those who are taking IELTS and they think that they are kind of advanced learners and who think that they're better than others? I mean, it's not kind of criticizing people, but anyway, all the time people, when they, for example, in Uzbekistan, they pay attention to this kind of things, to results. What do you think? It's a kind of real test, or maybe I don't know, fake one?
So IELTS has a lot of good advantages. So it's an international exam. And you know, I've looked into the way that IELTS is structured, the way that they measure the scores, and I do think that it's a good measure of your English proficiency. So it's a good exam in and of itself. But I think the problem is more that people tend to overestimate how important it is.
Yeah.
So for example, there is this persistent myth that I'll encounter where students have this idea that if I get an 8.5 on IELTS, I'll be accepted to Harvard. And it's like, no, like,
No way.
no way. Like Harvard cares about so many things and your English is just one of them, right? So oftentimes when I'm trying to explain to my students, it is true that universities, if you're applying for an international bachelor's, master's, PhD, whatever, they do ask for some English proficiency test. That can be IELTS, that can be TOEFL, it can be Duolingo, doesn't really matter as long as you have some sort of English test. But I try to explain to them why they're asking for the test, because ultimately it's like that number is not the most important thing to them. What's important for them is, can you listen and understand your professors when you're in your classes? Can you interact with the other students in group discussions? Can you read and understand your textbook and all of the assigned readings that you have to do? And can you write essays so that you can be, like, basically the reason they ask for English exams is because they want to know that you have enough English to handle all of the basic things you have to do in a fully English university environment. But let's say, for example, if a university requires a 7 on IELTS, and you have one student who has exactly a 7, and then another student who has an 8.5. The university really does not care. Like, that difference doesn't matter to them. As long as you have that sort of minimum score, they're going to look at other things. They're going to look at, what are your extracurriculars? What do you do after school? Like, you know, between the time when you finish school and you go home for the day, what do you do? Yeah. They're going to look at, do you have any leadership skills, any leadership experience? Do you have any projects that you've worked on, that you've created yourself? What is your community impact? How do you help other people, right? They're going to look at so many other things. And, you know, I think your IELTS score really is just a binary. Do you have it? Do you not have it? And then if you have it, then, okay, let's look at the rest of your application. Let's look at your essays. Let's look at who you are as a person, right?
Yeah. Cool answer, thank you. And it's really interesting for me. What is your life motto?
Yeah. Oh, what is my life motto? Oh, what did I say last time? Okay, so I think my life motto, we have this saying in America. We'll say that, oh gosh, what was it? Oh yeah, okay. So the saying in America is, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. So that means that you can plan out the perfect life, right? Let's say that you're a student right now and you've already planned out, I'm going to study really hard, I'm going to get an 8 on IELTS, I'm going to apply to, you know, a really great university, I'm going to get accepted, I'm going to do a master's program, and then I'm going to work for Google or Apple or some of these companies. You could have a really awesome plan. But sometimes things happen that are outside of your control, right? Maybe you do have a really awesome application, but you still get rejected from the university. It happens, right? Or maybe, you know, something happens and you maybe you become sick. Maybe you don't have enough money to afford that university, right? There are a lot of different things that happen in life that you can't necessarily expect or predict, right? But I think that's one of the reasons why it's good to be present in the moment that you're in. It's good to be thankful for all of the blessings that you have, right? And it's good to be flexible and open to new possibilities for the future.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. The question is, what is your opinion about Opus Learning Center?
Yeah, I think Opus Learning Center is awesome. So I actually first found out about Opus because I ran into Malika Opa at some conferences and events, and I was super impressed with her. You know, teachers are a mixed bag, right? I mean, all teachers are wonderful, yeah? But teachers all have our own specific interests, and we all have our own specific reasons why we got into teaching. And I remember when I ran into Malika Opa, I just remember thinking that, oh, she has a real heart for her students, not just for making sure that they get a good IELTS score, but for making sure that they're well-rounded as people, making sure that they're able to be successful in achieving their own goals, right? And so I was really impressed with her, and then I think through extension I was impressed with the Education Center, because I think that that sort of culture, that culture fosters success, and that culture fosters growth as well.
Cool. And I don't want to take your time, and the last question.
Okay.
Would you like to say something to our subscribers?
Yeah. I would say definitely study English. Studying English is very important. But also think about your own life. Think about the things that you value, and think about what you want, right? Don't just think, okay, I want to become rich. Think about, why do you want to become rich, right? Do you want to become rich so that you can take care of your family, so that you can, invest in more education, so that you can, help your community, whatever that may be? Think about your personal values and then live by those values. Yeah.
Great. Anna, thank you for coming. I was really happy to have an interview with you.
Yeah, thank you.
It's really a pleasure. That's why thank you a lot.
Yeah, thank you so much.
That's it for today.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Subscribe to our channel. Don't forget
Bye.
about just leaving comments in the description box. Thank you.